Welcome to Awakening Israel. Awaken, my brothers and sisters. Let's do a little scripture reading and a Bible study today. I just opened up. Yeah, you can see I'm up late. The sun has been up for a little bit. Oh, yeah, it's after 7 o'clock now. But I did the other show first while I was half awake, half asleep. That's done. That's being uploaded. You might want to listen to it. I cover biblical stuff in there. I can't help it. It's really an integrated part of this reality, this life that we're having. This particular earth age is really important. So we are at the end of the earth age, at the end of days. There's no doubt about it. And our earth is going to nova on us. Our sun is going to nova on us. And what happens is that in order to keep its place in the galaxy, the sun has to reset itself, in my opinion. That's just one theory, though. It could be that just at this particular time in space, whenever we go through this particular section of the galaxy, it may have some sort of an event. Something triggers our sun to nova. And when it does this, or maybe there's a force outside of our galaxy that goes off at this particular periodicity and causes our sun to nova. Certainly, every fifth cycle or so is much more violent than the normal cycles. From what I can tell, what we have had is a series of deluges upon the earth. And I know this nonsense about Yahweh claims he's never going to, I probably should go there now that I brought this up, but he's not going to destroy the earth by a flood again. Well, I wouldn't hold anybody to that at this point. I think the earth is designed so that you end up with volcanic activity or a mud flood, some sort of a deluge, because what I think happens is the sun novas and it blows the dust out of the shell that's irritating it. So we get hit with all of the dust from the sun, and that coats the level up. And we can find that in the ice samples, by the way. We can discover those previous levels of dust and ice, and it all looks at 12,068 years. So, and we can look at the Grand Canyon and the other mountains and see the layers, the folds that are in there, and each one of those is a flood or a deluge. And about every fifth layer or sixth layer, it's black basalt instead of being pink or white limestone. And that's because I think that's when the volcanoes kick up and do a really massive reset on the planet. And so that probably results in snuffing out pretty much all life on the earth for a couple of years, because the sun can't get through it all. But keep in mind that people have survived these things, that we've been on the planet for approximately 1.75 million years. Those would be the Mongoloids. The Asiatics were here that length of time. Just generally speaking, we're not allowed to talk real science anymore. It all has to be politically correct. The evil ones control all the knowledge from the top down. All disciplines have been screwed up. I mean, everything's been turned against the people. The evil ones take a little piece of the pie every which way possible, especially places like that Bank of International Settlements and the people that hold the copyrights. Yes, the copyrights are all centralized and passed through one place. I think the Vatican owns it. So all of your copywritten material, there's a few pennies that come off every dollar that go into the Vatican coffers on that. I don't know. Don't take my word for it. Do your own research. We're going to start here with Matthew 19. And I'll take a look at this first just to see how long it is. It's not very long. But the problem is, and the headings are, I forgave you all that debt. Such is the kingdom of heaven, and all things are possible. And I have one line, one phrase underlined, nothing highlighted, no dog ears on this. So we should just be able to go through this and get through it pretty quickly, huh? Anybody want to take bets? on whether or not I stop and talk and how long I talk for. And it came to pass that when Yeshua, remember his name's Yeshua, it's not Jesus. This is the proper name. And I don't know how they got this and put it into the Bible. It's one of those questions I should ask. I know how we got Yahweh. I know where that comes from. But Yeshua, I don't know just yet. I'm thinking that it came from the original manuscripts. I don't know which ones we used. But okay, and it came to pass that when Yeshua had finished these sayings, he departed from Galilee and came into the coast of Judea beyond the Jordan. Get a little bit more backlight here for me. Verse 2, continuing, and great multitudes followed him, and he healed them there. The Pharisees also came to him, tempting him, saying to him, is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for every cause? Is divorce legal, basically? And of course the Pharisees are bad guys. And he answered and said to them, have you not read that he which made them at the beginning made them male and female? And said, for this cause shall a man leave father and mother, and shall be joined to his wife, and they two shall be one flesh. Haven't they read the scriptures? It's as easy to learn men trying to trap him, right? Therefore, they are no more two, but one flesh, which therefore God has joined together. Let man put apart. Now, this is quite true. You know, we have got parasites in our bodies. We have bacteria that's in our bodies that's actually good for us, and some that's not so good. And we have them on our skin as well. We have to have those. It's part of the layer of protection. It also is part of our biome. It's part of the living matter that's in us and on us, and those contribute to our genome. They contribute genes to us, and we are Earthlings for a reason. That's because that we're reliant upon the genome, upon that living stuff around us and in us. We get a lot of our genes. One guy, a guy who's a doctor, has a doctorate in this stuff, says that we get more genes from the biome than we do from our parents. So let that sit upon you a little bit. We get more genetic material from the stuff living on us and living in us, and that we eat. We get more genetic material from that than we do from our own parents. I don't know how true that is. He was on Dr. Mercola. I don't remember his name. They said to him, their response to him, why did Moses then command to give a writing of divorce and to put her away? I don't know if there was a writing of divorce now that I read this. I think there was a bill of divorcement given by Yahweh to Israel. It's mentioned in the Bible twice. So the northern house of Israel, Yahweh divorced them. He did not divorce the southern house of Judah. Keep that in mind. They did the same crimes. They did the same sins. They committed the same evils. The problem is in northern house of Israel, they actually had 2 golden calves designed right from the beginning to worship. And they kept the temple, and they kept the Davidic line in the southern half. They kept the faith, basically, a little longer. They ended up being pulled out as well. But they got to go home. The Israelites didn't get to go home. So, verse 8, he said to them, Moses, because of the hardness of your hearts, permitted you to put away your wives, but from the beginning it was not so. So it wasn't designed that way. And I say unto you, whoever shall put away his wife, unless it is for fornication, and shall marry another, commits adultery, and whoever marries her which was put away does commit adultery. Doesn't sound very good for the women, because she's screwed over no matter what. I mean, she can be divorced and put away, but, well, anyway. there's a sin behind this that we need to discuss now. And if we read the Old Testament carefully, we will find two major prophets, warned Israel about this sin and told them not to commit it, because if you commit this particular sin, and for some of you it's going to be a new sin, by the way, you won't have heard of this before. If they commit this sin, then you will curse the land, and the land shall spew you out. In other words, you're going to be taken into captivity. And what was the sin that they were not allowed to commit that we commit today? Yes, we do this today in our society. You and I do this. It saddens me, but that's the honest to God truth. We commit this sin with great regularity here in our civilization. They've got us so convinced that we know better than God does, than Yahweh does. That sin was, if you put a wife out, if you divorced her, and there's nothing about writing in there, a written bill of divorcement. When you put a woman out from the house, you could not take her back again. You couldn't take her back again and go into her again, because the land would be cursed and the land would spew you out. So basically, that was the sin that broke the camel's back. That was the sin that got them hauled into captivity. And that's what we have been doing for a few decades now, since World War II, when that greatest generation came back and decided they wanted to be able to divorce their wives because they hadn't been around for a bit. And the women also had carried on while the men were gone. So it's a team effort, folks. It's a team sin, too. It's not one side or the other. This one, we own up with the women. We men own this along with the women. And there's other indicators and other technology, other traditions, other writings in the planet from way back. And I'm talking about binary language, computer language writings that describe the problems when men and women share each other too much. That's Eastern religion, Eastern thought. It's not for today. So basically, what ended up happening is that the land was cursed, and the land shall spew you out. So they were hauled off into captivity. Today, they bring in a foreign jurisdiction more and more. So we are in captivity. It's just that we don't know it. We think we're the latest and the greatest and the bravest and the freest, the most powerful, and nobody can touch us. Nobody tops us. My God, get outside of the country and go travel. Go look at the subway in Moscow. Go look at the railroads in Japan. Look at those in China. Oh my Lord. Go look at the architecture in Astana. I mean, look at these countries that you consider backwards and lesser countries, and realize you've been lied to, you've been deceived. You've lost all of your footing and grounding. So what do we men need to do? If you've divorced her, you can't take her back. And what that means is you can't have sex with her again. The marital act back then was the sex act. You didn't get a written bill of marriage. You didn't have a marriage license. Certainly not from the government. You didn't pay fees for it. You weren't needing a license because you were practicing licentiousness, because you were practicing sin or a crime. That's what they turned it into. And so now you get a license. And the state steps in and screws everything up. They destroy the family and the man as much as they can. They turn us men into slaves. It's a horrible system we have here. The best thing we men can do is turn our backs, walk away, and leave it alone until the system changes. We should be able to keep our substance when we divorce our women. Why? So we can, and we should be able to keep our children too, by the way, so we can keep our families going. Because we're the ones that civilize society. We're the ones that produce men and women of good standing that contribute to the society. Look at what we've become. All because we turned our backs on Yahweh, because we failed to read these good books and failed to follow the tips and the lessons they give us. Oh, for you ladies out there, there is an example of a marriage contract, but it's not in the Bible proper. It's in the apocryphal books. It's in the book of Tobit. Tobit, who was from the tribe of, I don't remember, but it's an incredible love story and marriage story. It's got some charm to it. It's a short read. You need to read it. He married a woman who had been through several husbands, killing them. There was something wrong with her. And he got things straightened out. He got the blessings. And part of that was they had a marriage contract between them. A man of Naphtali, which just proves that he was an Israelite in dispersion. So, and I say to you, whoever shall put away his wife, unless it is for fornication. Let's talk about what fornication is. Now, most of you think of fornication as being that four-letter word. However, the evidence in the Bible points to fornication being having another child, a mixed child, if you will. And this really comes through that tradition, that original sin that the fallen angel committed in the garden. It wasn't Adam and Eve who committed that sin. It was the fallen angel and one of the 5 leaders of the fallen angels, Gadriel, who seduced Eve. And that child was a hybrid, was of mixed DNA, fallen satanic DNA and Adamic DNA, or Caucasian DNA. And so that was considered a fornication. And what did that fornication do? Murdered his half-brother and started this whole war between good and evil. Talk about a family matter that's gotten awry and affected the whole planet. Unless it is for fornication, and shall marry another, commits adultery, and whoever marries her which is put away does commit adultery. Continuing verse 10. His disciples said unto him, if the case of the man is so with his wife, it is not good to marry. But he said unto them, all men cannot receive this saying, except they to whom it is given. For there are some eunuchs which are so born from their mother's womb, and there are some eunuchs which were made eunuchs of men. And there are eunuchs which made themselves eunuchs for the kingdom of heaven's sake. He that is able to receive it, let him receive it. Then were there brought to him little children, and he should put his hands on them and pray. And the disciples rebuked them. And Yahshua said, allow the little children, and forbid them not to come unto me, for such is the kingdom of heaven. And he laid their hands on them and departed therefrom. The children of the kingdom of heaven, they're the ones that continue on this life for us. Only Yahshua has eternal life, is what he says. I don't know whether that's in the Bible, but that's what my big brother tells me. So let's look for that at some point. I don't think we'll find it in this passage. I don't know how he discovered. He's just got more than 50 years of Bible reading on me. Well, he's got what? 40 more years, 45 more years than I have. He's been reading it for probably 55 years. And behold, one came and said to him, good master, what good thing shall I do that I may have eternal life? And he said to them, why call you me good? There is none good but one, that is God. And if you will enter into life, keep his commandments. So we have a condition here. You want eternal life? Keep his commandments. And he said to him, which of the commandments? And Yahshua said to him, you shall do no murder, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not steal, you shall not bear false witness. So we have one of the first 10 commandments clarified for us. It's not that you cannot kill, but you cannot murder. Okay, don't commit adultery. That doesn't clarify a doggone thing. Adultery is both producing adulterated seed, mixed seed, and because God loves his creation the way he made it. That's set in the first chapter of Genesis. 10 times he says it was good. He loved his creation the way he made it. Why should we not honor what Yahweh loves? You shall commit no murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness. Oh, come on, folks. Bearing false witness? That's almost a national sport, a pastime. Okay, come here. Honor your father and your mother. That means not to merely respect them, but you actually pay them, give them money. You support them. You're working. They're older. They can't generate that income. You support them. And you shall love your neighbor as yourself. It doesn't say you love your neighbor above yourself. And it also implies you got to love yourself. That's a tall one for some of us. That's a tough one. The young man said to him, all these things I have kept from my youth. What lack I yet? Yahshua said to him, if you will be perfect, go and sell all you have and give to the poor, and you shall have treasure in heaven. And come and follow me. That's quite an offer. Sell what you got. Come follow me. But when the young man heard that saying, he went away sorrowful, for he had great possessions. Then said Joshua to his disciples, truly I say to you, that a rich man shall hardly enter into the kingdom of heaven. And again I say to you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of heaven. Are not we in America all called rich, considered rich? Think about that. Continuing, verse 25. When his disciples heard it, they were exceedingly amazed, saying, who then can be saved? But Yahshua saw them and said to them, with men this is impossible, but with God all things are possible. Then answered Peter and said to him, behold, we have forsaken all and followed you. What shall we have therefore? And Yahshua said to them, truly I say to you, that you which have followed me, in the regeneration when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, you also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. 12 thrones judging the 12 tribes of Israel I have underlined. Why? Because in the book of Revelations, there are 12 and 12 sitting around the throne, around the table. So they do have a place. There's a physical place described later in the book of Revelations. Continuing, 29. And everyone that has forsaken houses, or brothers, or sisters, or father, or mother, or wife, or children, or lands, for my name's sake, shall receive 100 times, and shall inherit everlasting life. Wow, I've given up quite a bit. But many that are first shall be last, and the last shall be first. One of my aspirations when I went to Bible college, and I did that for one semester, they didn't appreciate me there. They didn't like me very well. They kind of run me off. I left after one semester. It was not a good experience for me. I lost my train of thought. Oh well. Now I got it back. What I said when I was in Bible school is all I wanted to do was become a street sweeper in heaven. I just wanted to get a broom and sweep the street. That's the position I wanted. Just let me clean the streets. That's all I wanted. And you know, as I think about that now, I realize that if you're walking the streets of heaven and you're cleaning the streets, just imagine all the stops along the way talking to all the people. Now, that to me is heaven. That to me is glorious and it's wonderful. That to me is, I mean, that's great. I mean, what more could a guy want? You know, good conversation with good people. And you would know everybody in heaven. They would all know you as well. Not so much I want to be known, but I mean, I want to, you know, you would know people. You would know what's going on. You'd be well integrated into the community. I lack that at this particular point in my life. I have to admit it. So I guess I long for that. I mean, I love getting together with people, brothers and sisters who read the Bible and talking about what we read and brainstorming. Come on. Come here. Okay, come on up here. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, yes. Make your appearance. What are you barking for, huh? What a good girl. What a pretty girl. Yeah, I know. Oh, yes. Oh, Lord. Little too much dog for me. Super dog. I give her 2 commands in a row and she can handle it just fine. Give her the third one, she gets confused. But she's got to do this mouthy, loving stuff to me all the time with her teeth. And I don't want it. No, 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 no teeth. No teeth. Good girl. No teeth. No teeth. No teeth. Stop that now. Kisses only. No teeth. She can't stop herself. It's a compulsion. Tails wagging, nuzzling into me. Now she's holding on to herself a little bit. Most of the neuronal connections in the human brain are inhibitory, not excitatory. So most of your cortex, most of that fine, rich neuronal network you have is for the purpose of inhibiting you, inhibiting your actions, civilizing you, rather than, you know, getting you to curtail actions you probably should not take. They aren't in your best interest or in the best interest of others. Now I'm getting the kisses and I'm going to get, yeah, okay, fine. Can't stop her from that. Oh, yes, what a sweetie. So those connections form our personalities, our characters, and that's important to stay healthy. And all it takes is one little infarct, one little tiny lesion, one spot, and you could lose some incredible parts of your character, your personality, your memory, your ability to function, your visual spatial abilities, your mathematics abilities, your language abilities, your expressive language abilities, or your analytic abilities, or emotional, you know, some of your emotional abilities. Those can be blunted too. So as we age, we have to give things up. There's no doubt about it. We deteriorate. I'm trying not to give things up. My back hurts like a son of a bitch from that auto accident surgery I had quite a while back, and it's really painful. I don't like this rain whatsoever. It affects that metal that's in my back. I would love to say I wish I didn't have the surgery, but I didn't have much choice. It was grinding together, and I wanted to be able to walk without the bones grinding on each other back there. And I had a good recovery and was quite strong, but I'm just wondering how much my body might have been able to heal on its own without that surgery. If you're out there and you want to pray for me, like the video. Leave some comments, even a short one. Bump the algorithm up. Facebook does not like Yahweh. Facebook does not like religion, from what I can tell. Unless it's Satan worshiping. They love that stuff. They pump that all day long because who is their God? And if you've been listening to my channel any length of time, you know that the evil ones are real, and they're real people, and they're real DNA people. You also know that there are spiritual traitors, our own people that go over to the wicked side. You also know that the Bible only covers one of the fallen angels, and there were 200 of them. So there's a large number out there. You also know that somehow it's related to the giants, And you should know by now that Vlad the Impaler was a famous man. His castle's in Romania. He was a giant. And it wasn't that long ago that he existed. He was a big dude. And he was a pretty evil dude, a shrewd dude. He was willing to sacrifice his own people to save his nation. And he was able to stop the Byzantine Empire from invading. Therefore, they made him into a national hero. But you also should know that all of your royal families are descended from that big son of a bitchin' giant. That's from the mixed seed with the fallen angels. And you need to understand that there have been some people on the throne that were on there properly, and they also had the right DNA in them. They didn't have fallen angelic satanic DNA in them. And the Tsar of Russia was probably the purest line. I'm just guessing that right now. Lorraine, quiet. I'm going to have to pull that curtain if she keeps it up. Tail wagging and she gets to bark. Good girl. Good girl. And so the people that have taken over the nation are fallen angelic types. And they've got plenty of people helping them out, especially Hollywood, which is now going to be called Trannywood. This is an old tradition, and I'm going to expound upon this a little bit. You have to remember that my distant relative wrote your Shakespearean plays, and they couldn't call him a Kent at all. Why? Because he would have been discovered. Had he been discovered, the queen would have lost her head. Why? Because she didn't just have a boy, a child out of wedlock. She had two of them out of wedlock by Mr. Kent. And Sir Francis Bacon became the Queen's attorney. And he also stopped writing plays. He retired from playwriting. That's when William Shakespeare was murdered. He was the front guy. So I don't know who had him murdered. It could have been a knight close to the Queen. It could have been Sir Francis Bacon himself. It could have been the Queen herself. I mean, it could have been anybody in authority beneath that crown could have done it. But we know he was an illiterate gentleman. There are only 4 examples of his handwriting in existence, and one of them wasn't even an X. It looks like a Y. He couldn't even write the letter X to sign his name with an X. He was an illiterate man. He was a horse handler, and you can bet he knew horses, on the Kent's estate. And the Kents used a lot of horses. My grandfather loved horses. My father loved horses. And I like going to see them as well. I don't like riding on them, though. They scare me. It's just, I don't know, it's just kind of weird. I got friends who just say, it's just like a big puppy dog, you know. My Navajo girlfriend in particular, she just told me, it's just like a big puppy dog. Think of it that way. Well, the fact is, the horses read us better than we read them, and the horse knew that I was green as could be. They could tell that, and the horse was not going to, well, I didn't have very good experiences on horses, although there is a picture of me as a child on horseback. My mother thought it was cute. I had my country western outfit on. I was going to be a cowboy. Yeah. It was back in Colorado a long time ago. Oh, probably before that. Maybe in the Carolinas, where I learned how to talk with a southern drawl, which irritated my grandmother to no end in New Hampshire. We have been blessed. We have been born into the great nation, foretold in Genesis, towards the end of the book of Genesis. And we were protected by our big brothers. Our big brothers in Russia protected us. Yes, the Tsar sent his fleet over here to protect us from the invasion that had been planned. The Rothschild boys, the bankers and their nations with their navies were going to take us down. But the Tsar, in secret, sent his fleet over here. And we owe our very existence to the Russians, to the Tsar. And as a result of what the Tsar did, thwarting the bankers' wishes, Jacob Schiff declared war on Germany and financed the Bolshevik Revolution on Russia and ordered the murdering of the Tsar and his family from our shores, from Manhattan. We allowed that to happen. We owe the Russian people. And the crazy thing is, they got better language stuff, better history, better science than we have. Yes, we have some technological things going for us, but we really need to step up and defend our brothers and sisters in Israel. They too are Israelite descendants, and the evil one and his children are trying to get us to go to war with each other, to get us to nuke each other, because they want to destroy us. You see, this planet was run by the evil ones. Yahweh, Creator, Father, God placed his son Adam, hear me again, his son Adam on the earth, and gave him dominion. And Adam did a pretty good job. But the fallen angels committed the original sin. And of course, they give you the Bible saying Adam committed the original sin, or Eve committed the original sin. But they don't tell you who really is to blame for it. It's on that fallen angel Gadriel in particular. And they played the ultimate shell game on us, the ultimate fraud on us. You take the shortened name of Gadriel, you get Gad. And you just alliterate that a little differently and you get God. And they put that name, or that class, that noun, it's not a proper name, throughout the Bible, everywhere that Yahweh's name was. They pulled the name of Yahweh out of the Bible in 275 BC. And today we've got the best version of the Bible. We've got the proper name of Yahweh in the Bible in the right places. And we have gotten rid of that fraud, the Jesuits, the Society of Jesus, dedicated to putting forth the name of Jesus. We've gotten rid of that fraud too. His name was not Jesus. It was Yahshua. The meaning of the name, even, it's an extension of Yahweh. Yahshua points you right to Yahweh. It also means he who saves. The name Jesus doesn't mean any of that at all. As a matter of fact, the letter J didn't exist in the English alphabet until the time of Shakespeare. The Jesuits didn't form up until the time of Shakespeare. While men slept, evil men crept in unawares. And they started this false churchianity for the rest of us, to enslave us and control us, and have you worshiping the devil and the devil's children. So you have that sacred cow, and you people who go to the churches who think you're big and proud because you're Christians, you don't know the Bible. If you knew the Bible and you followed some of my videos here, you would know that the word Christian is only mentioned in the Bible 2 times, and the word Christ is mentioned once. That's it. And it was a derogatory term. They didn't call each other or themselves Christians. No, they didn't call each other sons of a bitches. They didn't call each other whatever, the N-word, whatever you want to say. They didn't call themselves horrible people. They were called and considered horrible people and impoverished people by those that surrounded them, because those that surrounded them had many gods. And they thought, what poor, sorry ass is going to have just one God? What a horrible way to go through life, impoverished. Just one God? Oh, come on. That doesn't work. I mean, we've got lots of gods. We've got the benefits of all of them. They felt sorry for us. And when Festus addresses Paul and says, Paul, you almost convinced me to become a Christian, he was using it in a derogatory term. And that was the third and final time any version of the word Christ was mentioned in the Bible. I could be wrong on that. If you find it differently, then leave it in the comments. I'm open for correction. My name is Dr. Kent. If you can correct me, I'll embrace it. Yes, what a pretty girl. What a good girl. Yes, I love my puppy dog. Oh, she's hungry. She needs to go outside again. She's a little bit spoiled. I wonder who's responsible for that. Anyway, I need more training myself when it comes to my dog. Thanks for hanging with me today. This is Awakening Israel. We just covered that particular chapter that I can't even remember what it was right now, but you will remember it better than I, and I will put it in the title here shortly. Yes, I'm a bit impaired. I had 2 strokes in 2006. I got my recovery by sitting on my butt reading the Bible nonstop for a long time. And after several years, oh heck, I lost my place. Well, I'll have to go reading through this or listening to it myself to find out what chapter I just read. Yeah, I lost a lot of my abilities, and I got quite a bit of them back by reading the Bible. I was humbled, so I ended up sitting on my butt, kind of forced to go to the Bible. And then after reading it a bit, I decided I had to read it again. And then during my second read-through, I started to remember some things. And I was flipping back and forth between chapter and verse. And I think it was my second read-through. It certainly wasn't my first read-through. It might have been my third read-through. And I remembered 4 digits. 2 digits chapter, 2 digits verse. And I went to the earlier reference that it led me to. And I remembered the name of the book as well. So that was actually 5 items kept in short-term working memory. It was at that point I was like, wow, I'm coming back. I'm making it back. I never came back full strength. I didn't come back strong enough so I could defend my license against those communistic assholes that run this country. Yeah, the psychologists helped take you down. They purposely forced all of this liberal thinking on the rest of us. You can't be a psychologist and be a conservative. Your man, Mr. Peterson, Dr. Peterson, his license is on the line. He will find he'll be better off just letting it go and being done with those evil son of a bitches that are on his licensure board in the province. They're as bad as the evil son of a bitches on licensure boards here in the States. You want to avoid them because they will not respect your values. They do not respect our values in the 10 Commandments. They insist that we have to water everything down, that we have to accept everything, and that we not judge. But as we've read in this passage here, that the 12 apostles are going to have 12 seats, and they're going to be judging the 12 tribes. So you, as it says later in the New Testament, do you not know you will judge angels? Fallen angels. We have to start judging them, folks. And you need to walk away from them at the very least to protect yourself in self-defense. We're not going to do an act of rebellion. We're not going to take that route. We're going to take a route of return to self-rule, which means we ignore those evil bastards that are in the evil governments that have been set up in this nation for us. Especially the ATF. They've just decided they're going to make war on the people. I think they turned 30 million of us into felons overnight, and they're insisting they're going to do that. Heck, I was about ready to buy a Polymer 80 kit just to give them some support, but I know now that my name's going to be on their list, and the people at the ATF are going to be very upset with me, and I don't want them upset. I don't really like AR-15s anyway. I like finely figured walnut stocks. I like bolt actions. I like accuracy. I like real small calibers at my age. Folks, you need to look at South Africa. Our brothers came from South Africa, and they knew what they were about. And they went through this stuff first before we are now going through it. They are going to reduce us to the same level of civilization that they allow in South Africa today. So I'm warning you, they'll nuke you if they can get away with it. They will reduce it to the point where your own police will be shooting on you. That's what disheartened them, and we're about at that stage now. Everything is staged, folks. All the world is a stage. It's been that way since Shakespearean times. And you think Trannywood is new? I got news for you. Being an actor was such a low life that women weren't allowed to do it. Women weren't allowed on the stage for some reason. I don't know, you look into it and tell me. But not a single woman was on that stage, and the entire audience, the crowd, knew that they were all men, including Juliet. And they loved it. They loved the plays. But at this point, you got trannies running around in Hollywood, and you don't know it even. I mean, when I hear a transgendered, I don't know what to call it. I think I want to call them eunuchs, because that's what the Bible calls them. When I see a transgendered man who looks like a beautiful woman, well-dressed, and more feminine than our usual women, by the way, speak and talk about knowing the health of gender-affirming treatments, which is a lie, a bunch of bullshit. I'd like to say it's straight from Satan's mouth, but it's not Satan in front of me. It's a transgender, it's a eunuch in front of me, and who's lying because they want to be supported. They want to destroy our society. They want to destroy the family. That's what their purpose is. And so they will tell you that we have to do this gender-affirming treatment. And what they mean is you have to cut the budding breasts off your girls before they develop. You have to cut the penises and invert those, making a little vagina for your boys before they've even reached puberty. And you have to give them all kinds of estrogens and testosterone to help them with their conversion. Otherwise, you're a bad person. No, folks, I'm going to tell you right now, there are going to be waves of suicides from all of this stuff. We know a psychologist named Dr. John Money ran 2 experiments. In both experiments, the poor boy killed himself once he reached early adulthood. One killed himself at age 20, the other one at 22. Folks, don't believe their research, their science. It's bullshit. Don't believe their narratives. Don't believe their brainwashing. Don't believe their lies. Remember what Yahshua said. 2 words of advice. He said it twice in the Bible. Double witness. Pay attention to this. If they want us to learn this between Yahshua and his Father Yahweh, they want us to learn this. What's the first one? It's like a commandment. What is it? Be not deceived. Be careful you're not deceived. I'm sorry, but in this society today, it's nothing but a bunch of deception. It's nothing but a bunch of propaganda. Shut off the damn tell-lie vision. And then it says hold your ground. Stand your ground. Well, that means in several ways. That means defend your very life. Yes. Stand your ground. Defend yourself. Don't let the other son of a bitch kill you. That's what it's going to be coming down to, just like South Africa. But above all, hold on to the faith. Hold on to your values and your belief system. And don't let these liberal jackass psychologists tell you any different. And the number one thing they're going to do is they're going to refer you for psychiatric medications, which is the equivalent of trying to kill a gnat with a frickin' sledgehammer. So one of my teachers in psychology school, undergraduate up at the University of Alaska Anchorage, told me. Dr. Bruce was his name. That was the analogy he gave me. He was a kind gentleman. I didn't think much of him at the time because they all leaned a little bit liberal, but I realized, in hindsight, that the gentleman was speaking to me as kindly as he could and in my best interest, which I cannot say is true for the teachers today. I think we should fire all of these teachers. There should be no public monies involved in the school system, education system, the school system, the indoctrination system. That should all be terminated. You can't make a deal with those devils. They won't listen to reason. They will sabotage everything that you want to do. So why not just stop collecting taxes and stop funding them? Seriously, it should be against the law for there to be any state-sponsored educational system. Certainly the federal system, it shouldn't be done. I don't even think it should be done at the state level. I think it should come down to the damn neighborhood, down to the little red schoolhouse, down to the parents pooling their resources and hiring the teachers and firing them at will when they don't do the job they want the teachers to do. That's it for today, folks. I feel energized. Got to get breakfast going. I got to write some serious letters on my own behalf. I got to grow up and mature a little bit more. Can you believe it? I'm still growing up. I'm still trying to sort things out. Well, that's just the way it is, and I hope I keep growing all the way to the end. I'm not going to do 120 years. I already know that. The medical profession has destroyed my organs slowly over time. They do that. It is an art. It is a bunch of poisons, toxins, disabling stuff. That's what they give you. They won't admit to it. They won't tell you that. But it all comes out of ancient Khazaria, which is where the Ukraine is, which is why all the big pharma has their headquarters in Kiev, or Kiev, as you people will give me a peeve say. Kiev. I think you pronounce both of those vowels in the middle of that. It's not Kiev, Kiev. I don't know. What's the right way to tell it? Say it. You tell me. Yahweh bless, restore our republic by making America good again.